Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I was noticing here, jumping into it, I was noticing here that this is very reminiscent of down here. Okay, so, and here's Papua New Guinea. With the node, 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 and then node, node. So this whole stretch from here over, I believe, was generally from about here, or maybe here, down through. Let's look at this. From here to here to here to here. Or no, not to that one, but to this like double one is like here where there's one and then kind of a second one. And then single one with a closer one. Single one, and then a closer one is, I think it's here, maybe here, and then another bit further here is to, I believe, here from, like here, one of these. That one looks more like a legitimate one. Maybe it's probably there and there. I don't know if that's the right distance, but the point is a current coming across this way is what I realized, and then it's going down here. I know it's going down this way. There's also a current coming across it, so back from here. Like it's coming out this way, but then it basically it starts running into a resistance of a current that's flowing here, which is actually like this is all closed, so it's actually flowing this way. So there's it looks like the current flowing into this side is really mostly meeting resistance from this structure. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is flowing in there. But this is closed, so like there's a current flowing this way that I think does like flow through here, and it widens to like this width. So like generally like maybe the whole width here. Although it's really narrow back here. But like, so I was noticing this structure that's kind of like South America. Well, it's kind of continues here, and even like generally to this island, like to here. So really, that structure kind of goes like this from like here up through this region, and then down here, and then across to like around here-ish, and then back this way. So it's this big triangle is what I realized, and it immediately brought to mind this triangle where a current comes in and it splits. But just a larger one because there's larger currents involved, like physically more current, more total, like power or something. I'm not sure, pardon my lack of proper terminology. Just more energy that present in the currents that cause their collision to produce a larger triangle structure that's more nuanced. Like it has much more definition to like the, because essentially it produces like regions of masses and then regions of voids in the structure where there's physically like a support structure or not a support structure. I don't know if it's exactly to the island's shape, but maybe even like up through it in a way so that like it's all one big triangle that has like a sort of oneness to it in its formation. So it's almost like it's, so what it, that means though is if it's like a triangle formed like to this boundary, because essentially I've been noticing a current coming in here like beyond the boundary. So maybe the region where the triangle is actually is like past the triangle. The current that goes on that side of the triangle, like over here, one side wraps around that way, the other wraps around this way. The current that wraps around this side of the triangle that maybe even like grew in across time, like as the ocean floor was formed. It looks pretty young there. I don't know if that's what the age is down here. I've always thought like this region is that young because it was a, once the earth expanded, the current coming generally this way, not always, but recently been coming to the conclusion, especially of the current was going this way and then the earth expanded, so then it ended up going out across this region. And essentially it's the same current that was up here, running up here, but before the shallogram feature had opened. That was not at the Hawaiian Islands, but in that region, like coming across this way and then running into this current. So once it started to open, it started to flow out this way and maybe like essentially participated in, maybe is following, like this current followed Hawaii like energetically. Is that possible? Like Hawaii was up here and it physically was involved with the current flowing this way. From my last video, the concept that the particle came up through here, I don't know if that's got something that I will like conclude in a more like this, yeah, this is blah 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 blah, yeah, that's what happened, yeah. I don't know, but I'm feeling like it's like plausible enough to like consider it right now from this line of reasoning where there's a current flowing out here that runs into resistance. So like when this is happening, maybe this is where the current is flowing in, like this way. Or no. Maybe. Which is maybe out across here and then physically across. And then maybe like where Australia was. I don't know. That's no. It's so much. It's so much data. uh, I'm just thinking though, like the current deflected maybe, so this shape maybe has something to do with forming like generally as like a wedge in this region, like a wedge was forming. Let's go back to that image that I keep referencing. Wrong one. Here. So like a wedge shape maybe was forming. Here is, I don't know what that is. It must be here. Oops. It must be. It definitely is. Okay. So the wedge is pretty much here, or the wedge formed here. This way. Let's go earlier in time, where it's even more closed up. Way more closed up. Nothing's opening yet here. We've got. This is not how it was. I'm fairly certain this is not accurate. Yeah, I don't think this is accurate. Like, where is unless Papua New Guinea is like, it's still lower. South America, North America. Yeah. See, this needs to be like over here. Pretty much. Actually to here. This needs to be right here. So maybe if we go back again, maybe it was right there. Current flowing out here. And then a current flowing out here meets resistance and branches in both directions. This just doesn't really make sense. All together. Current comes down this way. I just don't think they have it positioned quite right. Like, why is Africa not adjacent to North America? Like, at all. It should be right here to here. Like, that's pretty well established. So this doesn't quite align, I guess. It still is pretty useful. But that's a pretty substantial thing. So that would mean looking at the southern, northern. This one, but this is probably rotated. Like it legitimately is rotated substantially. Where this is like down here. This is more up here maybe. And then there's this. I was just thinking, what if this is like up here, a bond breaking where Australia, in a similar way where the Central American, like this region, was essentially connected as one unit, and this here was down here, and then it swung over this way pretty much, and then severed this and created a bond by current flows. And that there was a bond here that broke, and a bond here that broke, and a bond here that broke that has like a physical like counterpart. Maybe here also. But here's one. And I don't know where its counterpart is. It seems like it was like this was just kind of up here. Like this where like they're just closer. They're just closer. So it probably didn't break from, I was just thinking like it broke from here maybe, but I don't think so. Although it's possible that it did break from like this was up in here, because it kind of looks like there's this sort of shape alike to its boundary. I don't know. Let's look at this. See if there's anything that would be suggestive that it moved like that. I mean, there is a huge wall behind it. Huge wall here. Himalayas? I don't. That's on this side. Does that move? So, I don't want to linger too long. Do I end this now that I just said that? Yeah, it's 19 minutes. I don't really know if I had anything. Oh yeah, that's right. I pulled out my notebook. I mostly wanted to talk about that. I noticed this triangle type shape here, so maybe it's reflective of a time when the Earth was more like this. And essentially, there was a current that was flowing into this side. I guess into here, actually. Like this was maybe more up and like connected, closed and just connected, like one kind of triangle thing there. I don't know exactly. It looks like they have it way. They do have the bond. That's down there. This bond, they do have it on the map. Like if this is up here, let's see. Maybe that's somewhat reliable that that was generally attached up here. Maybe even attached like Taiwan to it. That is what they have shown, I think. Sorry, my big head's hiding it. See you guys. Oh, I'm trying to move this on the other screen. Okay. So if that was like way up there, maybe, and this region is sort of like pushed through by currents relating to this like beam that really is like this energy colliding with a boundary and then flowing like between the vibrating boundary, producing the island arcs as it goes, but like focusing into a beam that just flows to the side of, but probably just physically widening, like not to the side of, but like along, and then like opening the gap and causing it to like slide out, and in the process producing an arc in the shape. So maybe there's something of that nature. That does seem to... So essentially, like the triangle, though, goes through there. Through, like, this way. Up to a boundary. And then bends that way. Where possibly like some of this region, like Australia, was up there. Like I really think it folded, like as it opened, it moved, and could it have slid like it? Like this wasn't actually here. This region wasn't even physically here. Looks like it bonded with it though, energetically, like it has this thing and this thing. I know I'm just kind of spitballing here. Yeah, I mean, it must have just been pretty much up, and maybe at a slightly different angle where this corner was basically here, and this corner was more so here. This was down here-ish somewhere, and then the Papua New Guinea was down. Is that Baja Cal? Oh, if that's actually, if that's Baja Cal, I was thinking maybe it's not that great, not great to scale. I don't know. Let's look at this. I was thinking it was a little less appropriately positioned here. Pretty much we need Papua New Guinea starting here and going to here. So it needs to kind of go this way. And this goes up here. And then essentially, okay, good. So we got the bottom, this bottom left, bottom north, southwest corner of Australia that's wedged up here between Indonesia, the Philippines. I think that's what that is. Oh no, that's Indonesia. Here's the Philippines. That's right, that's right. Pardon me, pardon me. So it's like wedged up there. This is up, this is attached here. None of this is kind of formed in the process. This is up here though. And maybe like down this whole length was kind of here. To a point, maybe. And then, so what I'm getting at is that corner though. This thing here maybe is like related to this. If this was generally here along this side, and Australia was past it, then it would be connected like more up here. Maybe it was connected here. Maybe that's what this Japan arc is related to. Is this? Green. So that's like the right kind of age. Newer, so like after it moved, it slid over. It pretty much, this segment of Indonesia slid down here. Australia slid from here down, and just then or actually, sorry, from Japan down, and caused Japan in the process, and then slid down to here. Once it was broken from here. So it was sitting there with that corner there. So it like the far side, that corner there. It's so hard to picture this without a map removing the time across. Just removing all this red would be very helpful in just picturing it. Although I don't know if this would be technically appropriate. I think this just is like an over layer that's just totally hides any of the older oceanic crust there that's more hexagonal. But it does seem plausible that that was generally up there. And it slid down. As new ocean formed, so it flowed in, met the resistance of the triangle. It met the resistance of the triangle, and caused basically a tendency for it to upwell there, and maybe instead of going the other way. It actually started from here going this way. That doesn't make sense. Does it? Like a current basically coming in this way, hitting a triangle shape of that structure and deflecting one way, which is basically like, so even though it's happening up here, it's actually happening around Australia. So it's coming in here at Papua New Guinea and then going along this way, which is up here. And then it starts to just swell in this region, I guess. Like this is forming here. And it's just swelling and swelling and swelling. Like in front of Australia, like creating generally this region, but with Australia up here and the swell over here, more like this. But maybe less like this segment separated part of it. Although maybe it's just because it's past once it's separated when this is, no. Okay. Although maybe there's some details I'm not accounting for that would shed light on something that make this more reasonable that there's a gap here already at that point. It just doesn't seem like in the oceanic crust or in just anything that I am seeing elsewhere. And this is certainly someone's reconstruction of an Earth in a ancient time without maybe without every detail quite put together, which is understandable. So it may have little things like that that just aren't so. It's not part of me. Okay. So essentially, but like this bond is over here. So then it's ballooning over here, producing like a like a current. It must be a current up that way, going up this way and then up this way and down this way. Essentially coming through here and bending, hitting that. I mean, it almost seems like it has to be. Let me go back to this. I don't know if it's reasonable to put Australia there. I feel like it just slid. It just slid in some way, like it was more over here and it slid off. Maybe this is how it slid off, by causing like this boundary to just spiral out and shatter, like shallograms spiral out, release like a pearl. And that's Hawaii. So maybe it goes this way and then this way. Would that, if the particle like essentially wraps around here until it hits this like boom spot here where maybe it like releases energy into this region and then flows this way. Wow. I don't think it's like underneath while it's happening. It would be so cool if it was, but I don't think it is. Is it? Oh my god, could it be? It could be, right? Could it be? For it to be, like Australia would have had to slide on top of like some of the seamounts, I think. Right? That doesn't make sense. I'm just thinking if it was up there. If Australia is up here, being this like ammonite structure here, and like it releases a particle, maybe it does go this way and then goes this way, and this isn't this it really isn't open. Australia is more up there, and it really just causes the particle to move to exactly like that point where the path begins here. Like it just flows up, and once it exits, I know how ridiculous this all sounds. Once it exits here, it's out underneath it. I'm tired. What am I doing? I'm just guessing. Anyone feel free to chime in, by the way, and let me know, and or post a link to your thoughts so it's more like yours, but like relating to this, whatever you feel. It just would be cool if some people like threw new ideas at me that were like, ooh. That like based on my work, like here's some things where I was thinking blah 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 blah. I don't know, my work. I really need to stop like doing this I thing and do more of a we thing. Our This is like the triangle got like currents flowing through it. That looks like they participated in that. Maybe in that. I don't know. I don't know. Although that would kind of make sense if there's a current coming this way. Yeah, I don't know. No. I feel like there's different dimensions of what's going on here, like when things move, that make it really difficult to pinpoint. It would be so cool though if somehow like when Australia moved away from the region, it really was like a Hawaiian particle was moving inside this ammonite, and it collided here and like deposited material as it started to exit, and then it exited and got caught in this current, because essentially there's a current going this way that's flowing in here and then wrapping it around here. So the particle would have been push this way, and then actually there's a current coming in over here, I guess. So maybe it like can only go so far, and then it starts to like go along some like boundary point between the pressures down basically a channel, like because it's a boundary point between the pressures, like a particle would tend to flow, like a boulder would flow down the river or whatever kind of thing, maybe, where it physically exits. It just doesn't make sense in terms of its age. Although maybe like if Australia's over here, like its corner starts here, it goes over here, so this corner to this corner goes from like here to here. So like the particle would be kind of around this corner. Does that make sense? Around this corner. In order to follow, it would like, have to like follow the trail, like go through here. What was I just looking at? Here to here. I'm just thinking if there's something like this region where it's just this shape here, like this detached from something directly. Yeah, I would say this existed and it detached from something, so it must have some counterpart somewhere. I'm hoping, honestly, but it's reminiscent of here, like this kind of thing, rather than like a newly formed arc kind of appearance where it's more smooth. This looks more like a just break in what was pre-existing, which would mean maybe we can pinpoint what was like right around here, like attached here, if we can pinpoint this. Whew. I would almost need to look at a expanding Earth map, see what people are doing. Let's see. What do we got? HG Owen. Oh, this is the one that I was looking at. Da-da-da. I'm so tired. Okay, there's that. There is apparently that corner of Australia. I see. Let's see. They're saying that corner of Australia was here somewhere. Like, that's real close to India. Okay. Just see. Uh, da-da-da. Phew. It's like got oceans on it. Holy crap. Okay then. Um, is it possible? This current. This, like that it comes out this way. Or out underneath here, gets caught in that current, pulled up there, caught in that current, pulled up this way, lodged over here. Maybe just like like a particle just like spiraling in a corner of the flows. It's not necessarily like doing anything else at that point. I don't know. It doesn't make total sense. Like it seems like it would be doing like the novas. It seems so like it should be involved in the novas that I'm really trying to figure out how it is. To a point that it's almost like unreasonable, but it just makes too much sense for me to just like stop looking for it. And it seems like if I just could get a better bearing on exactly how the currents are flowing, like if there is such a thing, or if it's all just an infinite loop of regression until like it ends. I.e., I end. Maybe you end because of my decisions. Oh, Lord. Look down. He's a piece of shit. Also, I posted this stuff. I said this with some certainty, all related. Generally speaking, current this way, current this way. Now, I wonder if this is like where the wedge is. Could this be where the wedge is? Like at the point of the wedge was a particle? At the point of the wedge was a particle. Like, could this wedge... If such a wedge exists, I know it may be a stretch, and it's hard to say what the boundaries. For sure, it's hard to say what the boundaries are. Maybe it's arguable right here. Okay, fine. This one maybe is a bit of a triangle, but I like to extend it all the way up, like to the point where it just encompasses like this region. It's maybe a little unreasonable, but. Could it be that the triangle, if that is like, was up here, I guess, like here, maybe to here. And then this way. Is approaching the oldest. Maybe this. Maybe this is where Australia is, right here with all this going on, the novas. Over top of this region, as this is happening, as this is forming, Australia is atop it. But then the like wedge that it's forming by having this like pressure zone where all the currents are colliding, so it's creating this like nucleus system that beneath it is just vibrating immensely, maybe. And just, it's moving, like off of this. All of these maybe are novas that are like shifting its position and maybe related to this. It kind of makes more sense from this that it was just like there and like moved away somehow. Like that, I can kind of be like, alright, maybe. It still seems this corner though needs to be up here. This needs to be like generally here. Somehow Papua New Guinea here. By just like fitting along this. What, I don't know what exactly goes. So what I was gonna say before I don't say it and stop recording is that the Hawaiian island chain, let's say hypothetically that somehow the formation of this wedge under the northern portion of Australia causes Australia to have this ammonite feature form by the currents involved as well, but it also, in so doing, causes specifically this. Does that make sense? This is really when it is opening, maybe? Like, maybe it's opening? Moving all, this whole landmass this way? With, like, enough novas to just, like, dislodge it? Like in lava, sometimes there will be like big blocks at the lava outlet that just form there and just like hold on as these like streams are flowing, but then like spontaneously it'll just break free. Maybe it was like undergoing these like things underneath it on the undersurface while the mantle itself was doing this. Like there's two layers, pretty much the continent with like an under layer too. Like it doesn't just have the crust because that's the side we see. Like it has the under layer of the continent's crust kind of thing, which the mantle like was abuts pretty much, and like the under layer is pretty much just floating on the mantle, and so it's pushing up into it and like at times digging up into it so that there's just less of like the crust. Maybe I don't know, something I'm kind of thinking maybe, and makes sense to a degree. Where over here it's actually solidifying a mantle like material into a new oceanic crust. So it's not just mantle anymore, it's solidifying because it's cooling, because it's getting exposed to cooler temperatures. So if it basically, in so doing, like this is occurring, moves this away, and then it solidifies, so that we see both the outcome underneath Australia of it having this like ammonite characteristic and the like just where it occurred. And so the wedge was like above this, maybe like up above it. I don't know if that makes sense. Where by being above it, it essentially went over here, like somewhere, maybe like generally here. I mean, generally here. Yeah, maybe generally here. The wedge was in here. Maybe. To a point where like it had a particle. It was forming Hawaii. Maybe it was forming the particle of Hawaii there. And at like the point of the wedge. Does that make sense? Where this then would be like here. Like it was forming like right here then, in some way, if that wedge is the case. Like there's some relationship energetically. The wedge. It just doesn't seem to make sense. Maybe over here, like this portion is not directly related to this portion until later in the current's flow paths. This is what I'm looking for. They don't really have dating for that region. Okay, that's pretty young there. Pretty young. So it's generally younger crust in that region. Okay, that's a good sign that like these undercurrents or these currents, I guess. Just currents at this point, since there was nothing to go under. We're just filling new space that it was able to open by the current's pressure. So maybe like only this region where it's really especially defined, and then over here. So starting really like right from there, let's see, that was this last bond here. So if from that bond it kind of follows here, let's see. From that bond, it almost immediately goes like down and outward. I mean, it's not the worst, like it also goes this way. It's not the worst mimicking of the coastline over there, here. Like, I feel like it's possible Hawaii started form. It's so ridiculous, I know. Like, could it have started forming at the... like here? To underbelly, in the underbelly of the earth. A particle forming within the shell within it, like a pearl, that then when the earth opened, the pearl came out, maybe. So it like opened here, the pearl came out, maybe. And this particle then is out. In this current flowing this way, then this way, and then over here where it then flows over where the wedge is, maybe blocks that off. Not the worst possibility, let's see. No, I don't know. Sorry guys, I know it's probably a waste of time when I'm just sitting here like thinking things through. Like I gotta record, and then I like say like the few things I want to say that I'm just kind of looking. Look at, uh, but maybe it came out, got caught in the current of there. I don't know what, like, or just came out here. The reason I was trying to think about it is because, like, if this is in some way underneath Australia happening, that there's like novas going off that are just creating an ammonite shape underneath it as it like turning it, pretty much turning it and then pushing it, but all just from like one position by different locations of the novas. Then, and if it like in so doing, the Australia underneath it creates some sort of like major nucleus particle, like a pearl again, that it then actually releases because it's like not underneath all. It's not released because it comes out here, but maybe it comes out here. I'm just like, could it have followed like a random trail like this and over here and this way? And then it really seems like it had to like come out of there. If it doesn't really make sense. Unless it like emitted it and then it like landed here, bounced, bounced, and started to, and then bounced and started to roll. And then it hit the resistance of the like uplifting of this opening and rolled off of it over this way. And then it met the resistance of the newly forming material, pushing it back against it. So it pretty much just came to a screeching halt here. And in so doing, just broke apart into all the islands of Hawaii. Maybe. Of all the things that I just said, that seems maybe the most possible way to actually like account for the observations in the totality of them. As ridiculous as it is, I don't think that's like the final thing that I will in any way settle on and be like, because I'm thinking like at some point maybe I'll come to some more concrete conclusion that I feel I can put into a video or something more official than this. Maybe call it Underground Science, the movie, or the documentary, or something. The something, the nothing, the everything. Also, this, it reminds me, if we go out a little further, there's a snake head here with the eye. And then in the past, I was thinking it had like a tongue as well. Just thinking if there's some relationship to that. It makes me think of like the hand of God thing where it's just consistently got like something in the hand that's like wrapping its fingers around in kind of like this. All right. Like there's tend to be things within the, I guess, the snake head in this instance of what I'm referring to. But then it continues. A lot of things to think about, that's for sure. I'll be back. See y'all soon.